Hey, what's going on, summoners? My name is Crumbs, and today we're going to be taking a look at how you can farm like a pro. CSing is something that is incredibly difficult for a lot of League players. It's not taught in the tutorial how important it is, nor is it really explained anywhere. The most you get from the game when it comes to farming is that it gives you some money. After this video, you'll have all the tools and knowledge it takes to bring your CS numbers way up and go toe-to-toe with the pros. Well, with their CS per minute at least. Nonetheless, let's dive right in. Before we can actually break down how you can start farming like a pro, we should take a look at why you should even want your CS numbers to be so high. Is it because it looks so good when you show your friends? Is it the fact that pros always do it, so it must be important? Maybe it's just that you're on your climbing journey and it's your next concept to get good at. Whatever it may be, let's make sure you have a solid understanding on what makes CSing so important to the game. Let's break down just how much gold you miss out on when you don't farm well. Unless you're a spell thief support or a jungler, a majority of your gold income is going to come from minions. So let's build our example and break down the minion wave. A lot of players aren't the best at CSing, and it even happens at higher elos, although not as often. Sure, you may miss a few minions every wave, but it's nothing more than that. On the surface, it may just seem like you're missing out on a health potion's worth of gold. When you really mess up CSing, you may lose a bit more, but it still doesn't seem too bad. However, these minions add up over time and can set you really far behind. Let's use our favorite example to break down some of the math. Imagine you miss 3 minions every wave, including cannon waves. It doesn't seem like much because maybe you got to trade some basic attacks for it, or they also missed a few. While it's not necessarily massive at first, let's add those minions up over the course of 5 minutes. Using the average gold per wave, if you're missing 3 minions a wave, then in 5 minutes, you would have lost 600 gold. Just think about what 600 gold means, especially with how fast-paced the game is at the moment. If 600 is still not enough to convince you, keep in mind that's only after 5 minutes. In the mid-game, you're likely missing tons of gold from either not CSing correctly or due to bad macro. Pair this with the fact that you'll probably have missed out on a few cannon minions, and the amount of gold you've missed has skyrocketed. Okay, now that we know how much gold we've missed out on, let's talk about how it impacts the game. Using the example, having 600 less gold can be the difference between finishing your mythic early for the fight or grabbing it later. Who are we comparing the timing to, you may ask? Well, we're talking about your opponent. If the enemy consistently outfarms you, then that means they are likely to always have the item advantage. Imagine going to your lane with a few components just for your laner to appear with a fully built Divine Sunderer? Now your likelihood of gaining a lead and snowballing has just gotten much harder. Overall, it's okay to miss a few minions every once in a while, it happens to everyone. But make sure you keep in mind that missing those few minions every wave will add up extremely fast. And if the enemy isn't making the same mistake, you're gonna be surprised by how quickly they finish their items over you. For our next great strategy, we'll be tackling the importance of CSing in the mid-game. It can be really hard for a lot of players to keep farming when there are constant fights around them. But before we dive into it, if you need some help learning how to properly play the mid-game and push your lead, then be sure to check us out at ProGuides.com. With our in-depth guides, we can help take your macro to the next level so you don't miss out on free gold. If courses and lessons aren't your thing, don't worry. We have challenger level coaches that are available 24/7 to help you out. So what are you waiting for? Go check us out and join the ProGuides family. Nonetheless, let's get back into the video and dive into a great way to practice CSing. Pulling us back into the video, let's take a look at one of my favorite ways to improve your laning CS so that you're not leaving lane with something like 4 CS per minute. One of the best ways to do this is to run farming drills. Drills like these have been used for ages and are meant to improve your CSing at an incredible rate. So then, let's actually break down a proper CSing drill and how to best utilize it for your improvement. This drill consists of 3 sections with decreasing difficulty. We recommend doing it before every gaming session. I know, but trust me, the value gain is huge. For your first section, you can take any runes you want, but be sure they don't offer any bonus damage of any kind. Be sure you take only defensive shards. A great standard page can be Guardian, Shield Bash, Bone Plating, Unflinching, Overheal, Legend Tenacity, you name it, just no damage based runes. Now that you've got your runes settled, you'll be picking your choice of Soraka, LeBlanc, or if you main melee champs, Rel. Now load up your practice tool without an enemy AI and let's get to work. Buy 5 potions and nothing else. You won't be recalling, head to your lane of choice. Once the minions spawn, you'll be looking to get perfect CS by the 10-minute mark. This means you'll be looking to get 10 CS per minute with some of the hardest variables in the game. We recommend doing this drill for 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how often you play the game. Once you've gotten good at the first section of this drill, it's time to move on to the next level. Keep your runes the same, but now you can add 1 attack speed shard and 1 AD. Load into the game and start with a Doran's ring so that you can deal a bit more damage to minions. From here, you simply rinse and repeat from the previous section. Aim for that juicy 10 CS per minute and don't rush yourself. Progress takes time. This is good to practice for yet another 1 to 2 weeks, but if you feel ready, then push forward to the last level. For our final section of the drill, you'll finally feel a bit more comfortable. Pick your main champion and set up your classic rune page. While it's not necessary, feel free to add in a bot like Ashe or Caitlyn who can zone you off CS. Start the game with your normal items of choice and run the drill again. Farming should feel much easier than it did before. The reason you still want to run this drill, even though there are no restrictions, is so that you can get used to your champion's projectile speed. There's a massive difference between farming with Soraka autos versus Caitlyn autos, but congrats! You've officially completed this lengthy but very helpful CSing drill. Speaking of which, be sure to continue practicing. While you may not want to do the 10-minute practice before every session afterwards, you can still take less than 5 minutes to join the practice tool and farm the first 3 waves to warm up. There's no reason to work on your skills and then let them deteriorate due to lack of practice. Over time, it will be easier and become second nature. But for now, keep working and pushing forward. Now before we move on to our next way to better your CS, let's not forget about our favorite ProGuides tradition. Today we want to ask you all, when you first started in League, what were some game mechanics that didn't make sense to you? For me, I started a long time ago and I made Karthus, so I thought that I could buy 100% cooldown reduction and keep spamming my ultimate all day. It was a tough lesson to learn to know that cooldown reduction was capped. But we live and we learn. Regardless of what your answer may be, let us know in the comments section below. Nonetheless, let's get back into the video and dive into our key strategies. Here's an interesting idea about CSing. Time not spent farming is time wasted. While the severity of this depends on your role and champion, it's still important. You should always be looking to hit 10 CS per minute, and this is done by efficiently farming mid-game. A great rule of thumb is if you're not doing anything, then you should be farming. At first, this can be difficult to do since by the time you realize it, you've already lost a few waves. However, you can build a habit by asking yourself every 15 seconds, what are you planning to do and what are you currently doing? If you have spare time or have no idea what to do next, then the next best bet is to farm. Is the enemy team doing Baron and you can't contest it? Farm. Has your team just wiped the enemy and is now looking to push? Farm while you're pushing the wave with them. Do you have a tank jungler who is on the opposite side of the map? Farm his camps. The biggest issue we have seen with players in the mid game is simply wasting time. So if you're looking to increase your CS numbers, then be sure to tackle the root of the problem. Doing nothing should never be a thing. Either you're helping your team set up vision or you're fighting. Other than that, everything involves farming. Plus, on the bright side, you'll see that your random mid-game deaths will reduce since you won't be a part of useless fights due to being farming. Now that you have a decent mid-game plan paired with some strong laning phase practice, we gotta tackle one more thing. Farming under your turret. Farming under turret can be extremely difficult depending on your champion. The best way to improve at this is to mindfully CS under your tower by paying attention to how much damage your champion does. Keep in mind what level you are and what items you have. Let's go over a great rule of thumb for farming under tower. When a turret hits a wave, it'll hit melee minions twice before you should hit it. As for casters, it'll hit them once and then you can kill them. However, as a mage or in early levels, you'll have to auto them twice. To play around this, just auto it before the turret shot goes off and then kill it with your next auto. This is an extremely simple breakdown of farming under the turret, but you can easily come up with some neat things. For example, Kai'Sa can Q the wave when there are 5 minions early on and it'll perfectly prep them. It's critical to pay attention to your damage so you can stop missing free farm under your turret. Now before we continue on to the end of the video, if you want to join an amazing community of people like you that love lists, talk pieces, and other things like this, check out our Discord using the link found in the description. So, what are you waiting for? Join! Nonetheless, let's get back into the video and take a look at our honorable mention. Finally, we have our honorable mention of limiting your champion pool. Yeah, we know this isn't a tier list or anything, but we felt like including champ pool was still fairly important. At least this time, it isn't us trying to convince you to one-trick a champion. The benefit of limiting your champion pool is that it'll help pull together everything you learned from today's video. You'll know how often you can afford to roam and fight versus how long you need to only farm. Knowing your champion's damage allows you to CS under turret easier, and it also lets you know if you can crash waves in time with your wave clear. Don't think those farming drills are going to waste either. Each champion has different projectile speed with their basic attacks. Knowing how long it takes for your auto to connect can help a ton when it comes to farming. It seems like such a small detail, but trust us, the last thing you want to do is farm with Caitlyn, then next game farm as LeBlanc. And that wraps up our video for today. Don't forget to join our ProGuides family at ProGuides.com, where we offer exclusive giveaways and classes that you won't catch anywhere else. So stay tuned and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video. Good luck on the Rift, and may the LP gods smile down upon you.